guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing yet another drugstore product review on Milani's newest eyeshadow palette. We are going to be testing, swatching, and reviewing the brand new eyeshadow launch, the Gilded Desires palette from Milani. So if you are interested in seeing my thoughts on this palette and how it performs, then just keep on watching. I like to start off all of my drugstore review, any review videos, by going on either the product site or the retailer that I purchased the products from site in order to get the product statistics, pricing, if there's any reviews posted yet. So this palette is brand new. It launched on Shoppers Drug Mart exactly 2 days ago, and I already have it in my hands here. It is absolutely gorgeous. I think this color story is so unique and fun for the drugstore. As I said, I purchased my palette on Shoppers Drug Mart and it retails for $26.99 Canadian on there. That is a very steep price tag for the drugstore, but keep in mind you are getting 15 palettes. You're getting 15 shadows in the palette here. So keep in mind 15 shadows for $26.99. Still very expensive for the drugstore, but if there's any brand that I'm willing to spend more on eyeshadow particularly, it's going to be Milani for eyeshadow. In the About This Product section on Shoppers, it says that these are earthly shades for otherworldly looks, hyperpigmented earth tones in soft mattes and rich shimmers, undeniably gilded. This features 6 matte shadows, 7 shimmer shadows, and 1 metallic shadow. Looking at this, I'm fairly confident that the metallic is this gold shade here, which is glamping. We will see in the swatches because it doesn't actually indicate on here which is which formula. So this palette is cruelty-free, which is amazing. It is made in Taiwan and distributed in Los Angeles and Germany. So we are going to now go in. I'm going to do live swatches of each row. I want to do the swatches now with you guys so I know my thoughts on the swatches when we go in to apply it to the eyes. I've said this in my other eyeshadow videos, testing videos. I'm not a big swatch person. I don't think they make the biggest difference. I will say that it is very satisfying to have a product swatch really nicely, especially like this glamping shade. I have high expectations. It should be very smooth and foiled. So while it is satisfying to have a product swatch really nicely, for me, it doesn't necessarily indicate whether the product is going to perform well on the eyes. I rather have a product perform nicely on the eyes than perform nicely in a swatch on my arm, but it's nice if it can do both. And I know swatches are helpful because most of you like seeing swatches, especially in review videos. So with all of these statistics and everything covered, let's go ahead and get into the arm swatches. Here's how that first row of shades is looking. The first shade on the very far side is Unplugged. Very white cream shade. You honestly can't see it because my skin is so fair. Next to that we have Weekender, then Slow Burn, Take a Hike, and Road to Nowhere. So there's 2 shimmers in there and 3 mattes. Here we have the second row of shadows. I'm honestly blown away at these ones. I want to say that this palette is just worth it. For this row of shades, these are absolutely incredibly gorgeous, every single one of these shades. So first up, that shade on the far left, I guess for you guys, it's like a nice light raspberry. That shade is called Bloom. Next to it, we have No Filter, which is almost like in between a matte and a shimmer. It's a super creamy matte, I want to say. Then next to that, we have Sage Advice, which is a very sparkly shade. Green to like deep brown, super pretty. Then we have Spruce Up, which is a deep chocolate shimmer. And then on the far end there, we have Glamping, which I think is no doubt the metallic shade. So in order, the champagne shade at the front is Enjoy the View. Then we have Good to Grow, Like a Moss, Branch Out, and Be Leaf. I'm incredibly impressed by the swatches, even though I said that swatches don't really mean anything. It's swatched beautifully. But while I was swatching it, I did think of something as I was swatching it. The color story of this palette, the vibe in this palette did remind me an awful lot of the new Raw Beauty Christy and ColourPop at Forest Sight palette. So these are the two side by side. They have very similar theming, very similar color stories, and same type of shade wording as well. For example, in the Milani palette, we have shades like Sage Advice, Spruce Up, Like a Moss, Belief, Branch Out, and then in the Raw Beauty Christy palette, which is obviously forest inspired, we have shades like Evergreen, Homegrown, Old Growth, Fiddlehead, Pacific Northwest, that type of thing. So worth noting that they are quite similar. I really hope that Milani didn't know about this palette, because side to side, like, they definitely aren't the same, but they are very, very similar. I might at the end do some swatch comparisons side by side, because right away, if you have both palettes at home, Belief looks very similar to Emerald City. West Coast looks very similar to Glamping. Old Growth looks kind of similar to Unplugged. So there are definite similarities. You can't like side by side dupe the palette by any means, but the shades are very similar. You get less shades in the ColourPop, and it's obviously less expensive, a lot less expensive. I actually haven't tried out my Raw Beauty Christy one yet. I did a full swatching video on my Instagram, on my IG stories or my IG reels, and it's a gorgeous palette. I just haven't worked up to play with it, especially because there are so few shimmers, and I'm not like an all over matte person, but I love Christy so much, so I thought it was worth noting that they were similar. I don't want to say buy the Milani one just because the ColourPop one's like sold out, because I don't know for sure if like Milani knocked off the ColourPops and that feels wrong. I don't know. I'll have to see if other people make that connection once it comes out. I am the first review that I've seen of this, so I can't go ahead and compare, but it'll be interesting to see what comes up. Think what you will. But it is now time to head in and create a look. Typically in the past with palette review videos, I have gone ahead and done 2 different eye looks, but there are other videos that I want to film today that I can't have 2 different eyes for. So I'm so incredibly torn between a super warm tone, like smoked out burnt orange look, or a purple pink champagne look, and I'm leaning towards the purple and pink champagne. This pastel with that champagne, that is my comfort zone in makeup. That is what I love. I don't love a super warm toned eye on me. I know most people will like die for this section of the palette, and I definitely will use it a lot, but for my first look, I think I just need to stay true to who I am, and I feel like other people, when they use this palette, will do more warm looks. So to anticipate that and give you diversity, and to be selfish for myself, I'm gonna go in with the purples. I've decided it's done. So with that said, we are going to start off with this light pink purple shade called Bloom. This, objectively looking at the palette, is probably my favorite shade. I just think it's such a unique, pretty shade. I love it. Okay, starting off with the shade Bloom and a Morphe M433, like a flat crease brush. All right, pressing into that shade Bloom and then tapping it off. And then we're gonna go ahead and start putting that into the crease. Such a pretty shade. I would literally wear this shade all over my lid. I'm not getting any fallout. Granted, I am like tapping off my brush before I go into my lid. I really like this formulation so far. Just how it's picking up on the brush and how it's applying to my lids. And I am going to almost wing it out a little bit on the edge here. I just want it to be really soft and winged out. So that is the first crease done. Now I'm going to go ahead and just copy the same thing on the other eye. Now I'm going to go in with this angled liner brush. This is just from Quo Professional, the liner brow brush. I'm going to go in with the Real Dark Purple shade called Good to Grow, and we're going to do an angled liner with the purple. And then I think I'm going to go in with the champagne all over the lid a little bit, and then in the inner corner as well. We'll see how I feel. I might just do the champagne on the inner corner, and then we'll smoke out some shadow on the lower lash line. But first, let's try out this deep purple. That's how it looks with the liner on. I ended up switching to my Morphe M432 flat brush. It was just easier to do the liner that way. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it on the other eye as well. Here's how we are looking now with the purple liner applied. It didn't apply the easiest. That's definitely not its designed use though. And it is a shimmer shade rather than a matte shade. If it was matte, I bet that it would have worked better as a liner. But because it has shimmer in there, it is a touch like more crumbly. But I think it looks cute as a liner. Definitely smudgy, like the wings aren't perfect, but I think it looks cute. Now with my ColourPop E9 pointed pencil brush, I'm going to go into the champagne shade called Enjoy the View, and I'm going to pop that just on my inner corners to start and see how I like how that looks. Now I'm going to start out on the lower lash line with my Sephora Pro Shader 18 and the purple mid-tone purple shade called No Filter. And then I am going to add in this liner as well. This is the ColourPop BFF Cream Gel Liner in the shade Amethyst Hour, like a super pretty lilac purple. I'm just going to put that in the inner rim of the lower lash line. And then to finalize the eye look, I'm going to go in with my two favorite mascaras of the moment. On my top lashes, I'm using the Huda Beauty Legit lashes, and on my bottom lashes, I'm using my Glossier Lash Slick. The last step that I did want to do is add a little bit of that champagne highlight in the inner corner to the brow bone as well. So with a fluffy Sephora Pro Tapered 19 crease, I'm just going to go back into the shade Enjoy the View and pat it off and add that into the brow bone. I don't always or usually really do a brow bone highlight, but I thought this would be pretty just to tie in the inner corner. I think that it's pretty obvious at this point. I certainly think that this palette is worth it, even for the $26.99 Canadian. I think that the color story stands on its own, is unique for the drugstore. I think it's so incredibly pretty. This would look absolutely amazing on anyone with green eyes or hazel eyes. I think I have blue eyes. Doesn't really matter, but I think that this palette is just so gorgeous and unique. I love that you get a bunch of different formulations in here. All of the shades are so pigmented, creamy, easy to work with. I cannot wait to do a eye look with any of the shimmers just like all over the lid, and I'm excited to see what you guys think. Will you be purchasing this? What do you think? Do you think that it's super similar to the Raw Beauty Kristi ColourPop, or is that just me being a conspiracy theorist? Let me know what you think. As always, if this video was helpful for you, please do be sure to give it a like, a thumbs up. Helps me out more than you guys know. Please also subscribe and turn on the notifications, because I will have a ton more new at the drugstore content for you throughout the rest of the month. I have many products here lined up to film new at the drugstore first impressions on. So stick around, turn on the notifications, and subscribe if you want to see my thoughts on lots of additional new drugstore makeup. And with that, that is everything that I have for you guys today. I hope that you have or had an absolutely awesome day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!